صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه. We're still discussing the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ joking with his companions, and there are so many hadiths in this chapter, but Imam At-Tirmidhi only selected these few. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the companions once said to the Prophet ﷺ, "O Prophet of Allah, are you teasing us?" So the Prophet said, "Yes, except that I do not say anything but the truth. I do not lie." And again, this shows us that joking around, playing around with your family, with your friends, is permissible. Showing some humor is permissible, providing you do not lie. And this is a problem, and problematic to a lot of the people, especially nowadays when no one wants anything serious. It is heartbreaking that people come to you and say, "Oh Sheikh, you said so and so, that's so funny." Ya akhi, I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't say these things to make you laugh. I just happen to say them. But you neglect every bit of knowledge you've received from me and only focus on this. And you made a meme out of it, and you made an issue out of it. This is inappropriate. Now, there are people who've dedicated their lives to stand-up comedy and just to making people laugh by imitating, mimicking, lying, cheating, making fun, backbiting. All of these are major sins. And it's a shame when you pray and fast and then you do these sinful things, end up erasing so many of your good deeds. This is not the way of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet used to joke with his companions, but he would never say anything that's a lie. Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "A man asked the Prophet of Allah to provide him with a mount so that this man could go for expedition and fight for the cause of Allah. So the Prophet said to him, "I will mount you on the offspring of a she-camel." Now, an offspring of a she-camel means a newborn camel. So the man said to the Prophet of Allah, "O Prophet of Allah ﷺ, what shall I do with an offspring of a she-camel? That's too little, it can't carry me, it can't carry my luggage, and it cannot travel for long distances." So the Prophet said, ﷺ, "To what does a she-camel give birth to other than camels? I didn't give you the age. I was just, playing around with you. So I will give you a camel." And this camel, by the way, was an offspring of a she-camel, but now I'm going to give you a full-fledged, fully grown camel. So this is one of the ways that the Prophet used to joke with his companions. Also, Anas ibn Malik says, may Allah be pleased with him, there was a man among the people of the desert, a nomad. His name was Zahir. And he used to bring the Prophet ﷺ a present from the desert, and the Prophet ﷺ would reciprocate by equipping him with what he needed when he wanted to go back to the desert, or whenever he wanted to set off for battle. So the Prophet would give him ﷺ. The Prophet said about Zahir, "Zahir is our desert and we are his towns," meaning that he represents us when he's in the desert, and we are his representatives in this town, meaning the close ties and relationship between them. The Prophet ﷺ used to love him, though he was not that handsome. Actually, he was a little bit ugly. So the Prophet ﷺ once came to him one day while Zahir was selling his goods in the market. As you know, the marketplace is open. You show and display your goods. Who would like to buy this? Who would bid higher, etc. So the Prophet came from behind him, alayhi salatu wasalam, and then while he was doing this, and he embraced him from behind him. So he came and embraced him. He couldn't see who it was. So Zahir tried to set himself loose, saying, "Who's this? Let me go, let go of me." And when he turned around and noticed that it was the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, then he kept his back pressed to the Prophet's chest, not wanting him to let go. So the Prophet ﷺ proclaimed and announced, "Who will buy this slave?" Imagine if you're in the marketplace and among all the companions, the Prophet ﷺ is joking with you like this. And he is announcing to all, "Who will buy this slave?" Of course, he's not a slave, meaning that he bought him with his money. Rather, he's a slave of Allah. So this is not a lie. So the Prophet said, ﷺ, "Who will buy the slave?" Zahir said, "O Prophet of Allah, in that case, by Allah, you will find me an unsellable commodity. Nobody's gonna buy me. Look at me. I'm ugly. I'm a Bedouin. I'm a nomad. Who would even have any interest of me?" So the Prophet ﷺ replied to him by saying, "But you are not an unsellable commodity in the view of Allah. You are precious to Allah." What a beautiful praise and compliment any one of us could have, similar to that which Zahir had. May Allah be pleased with him. And finally, Al-Hasan al-Basri says that an old woman came to the Prophet ﷺ. This hadith, by the way, was graded Hasan by Imam Al-Albani, may Allah have mercy on his soul, and other scholars graded it as weak, because Al-Hasan al-Basri is not a companion. So when he reports such a hadith, this is known as mursal. Yet, some of the scholars accepted his mursalat, and some may say that this has another way or that. It's an issue of dispute. I am inclined to say that this hadith is weak, but because the Imam Al-Tirmidhi reported it and Imam Al-Albani graded it as Hasan, we are mentioning it inshaAllah. An old woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, "O Prophet of Allah, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to let me enter paradise." This is normal. People come and say, "O Prophet of Allah, make dua for us." So the Prophet ﷺ said to her, "O mother of so-and-so, no old woman will enter paradise." So the woman was shocked, turned away weeping. So the Prophet called her back and said to her, or said to his companions to inform her by saying, "Tell her that she will not enter it as an old woman. For Allah says, we've created them a new creation and made them virgins, loving, equal in age. Inna ansha'nahunna insha'an faj'alnahunna abkara uruban atraba." So the Prophet did not lie. He was playing around with this old woman, telling her that no old woman will enter paradise, but she thought that she will not enter paradise. Rather, the Prophet clarified this later and told her that all old women will be in the same age as virgin, loving, beautiful to their spouses, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد.
صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم.